All right, man, peace. So, brothers, this is going to be the final episode in our series on R. Kelly's accusers being put on trial by Chronicles of Judah144. And as we've seen by all the previous entries, all of these women, what they truly have in common is that they were idolaters. As I tell you, brothers, all the time, the woman by nature is a groupie. And you have to understand that when you initiate a relationship with a female who has a crush on you, she has a preconceived, lionized image of you within her mind that she feels you have to live up to. And if you deviate even a scant degree from the image that she created for you or of you in her mind, she's going to claim to be quote unquote disappointed, or she's going to go about trying to end the thrill ride. Because once again, the woman operates according to thrill ride programming. She believes that everything is for her entertainment. Are there exceptions to that rule? Are there upstanding women? Absolutely. But the vast majority of them are about the thrill ride. So let's get to the point. This entry here will be featuring Miss Kitty Jones, Miss ASANTE McGee, and Miss Faith Rogers. So, of course, they're going to talk about it, and I'm going to chime in.
Back in 2011, I was a radio DJ in Dallas, and I had met R. Kelly at an after party while he was...
In other words, you were a groupie who was searching out R. Kelly at the after party, who happened to be a DJ.
While he was on the Love Letter tour, I proceeded to introduce myself and let him know that I was from the radio station.
You let him know that you were from the radio station, but you were leading with your vagina. That's what you were doing, allegedly.
He proceeded to ask me how old I was. I told him I was in my 30s.
You told him you were 33, and he said, damn, you old. But you know, I'll give it a chance. You got a fat ass.
And he was shocked. He just kind of sized me up a little bit from head to toe, like what I looked like.
Yep, he told you to turn around, and he said, feeling on your booty, your booty.
And we were just kind of shaking hands really slow, and that's when he slipped me the phone number.
Are you sure that's all he slid you?
Long distance was a hard thing for both of us, so...
No, it was a hard thing for you, because you were the one doing all the traveling. You met up with him when he was on tour. R. Kelly was not taking no damn plane to come see your ass.
So, quit my job and moved to Chicago.
Damn, you quit your job and moved to Chicago to be closer to R. Kelly. You was really sprung.
I didn't just pack up and leave just because I loved him. It was a two-way thing.
Bullshit. You know damn well you were chasing that man down, and he seduced you.
Rob absolutely told me that he loved me all the time.
Well, that's part of the programming.
I was visiting Dallas, and a friend of mine said, you know, have you ever watched the sex tape?
So let me get this straight. You went back home to your hometown of Dallas. You were visiting a quote-unquote friend, an alleged friend, a friend who realized that you moved to Chicago to be closer to R. Kelly, the person who you thought you were in a quote-unquote relationship with. And the first thing that your quote-unquote friend approaches you with is whether or not you've ever seen the R. Kelly sex tape. Why do you think your friend did that? Do you think that your friend did that because they were concerned for you? Or do you think they did that because they were envious of you?
And I was furious with her, and I felt disrespected because at this point, this is my boyfriend. But my curiosity just kind of got the best of me, and I Googled it.
Well, you know what they said? They said curiosity kills the cat. Brothers, that's another inclination that women have by nature. They're extremely curious. Extremely curious. So that's why I always state that when you're engaging with the woman, or when you're in a relationship with the woman, you have to gauge and evaluate how curious they are. Does their curiosity extend to being intrusive? Is the woman that you're with concerned with getting into your business and trying to manipulate you through your business, or trying to get an understanding of your quote-unquote history to find out what she can use against you? These are all things that you have to evaluate before you determine how seriously you're going to take a female that you're with.
Googled it. And when I saw the images, the images were the same girl that he introduced me to. couple weeks before, I knew immediately it was the same woman. It was just a bunch of emotions coming over me. Like, am I really with someone that did this?
Yes, you actually are with someone who did this, and you already knew about the story, so let's not try to act as if you got hit over the head or sandbagged in some way. We all know that R. Kelly was able to come to terms with the young lady in question and her family, the female who was on the videotape. I'm sure that they remained acquaintances or whatever. So you have to understand, if you're going to engage in a relationship with R. Kelly, that's his history, that's his past. So many of these females, they disassociate and they block out because they're too busy being groupies and idolaters, aka maenads. The woman sets herself up for disappointment by creating an inflated image of a man that she has a crush on in her mind. It's an image that no one can ever live up to. That's why I tell you, brothers, do not be a fan. A lot of you guys are fans of this person and that person, and then you come across them in real life and you get disappointed. Being a fan is not manly at all. You deal with people as human beings. They have flaws. They have characteristics that are assets or what have you. It is what it is. Everything in life is nuanced. But just to get back to the point, as men, we have to deal with reality. These females, they don't deal with reality. When I say these females, I'm talking about the females in this docuseries. And just in general, the woman does not deal with reality very well. But, you know, just to keep the conversation confined to the subject matter at hand, you see that these women, they've all set themselves up to be victimized because they approach R. Kelly as a god as opposed to a human being.
I called him and I was very upset. He could hear me crying, and I said, my friend sent me the tape or something like that. I didn't want him to know that I went looking for it.
Rob Pride was like, what tape? Mixtape?
He just began, like, saying things to me that I'd never heard before. Like,
because you have broke the bond that he was trying to create with you. In order for R. Kelly to establish bonds with his assets, he has to take them from the real world to a whole other world, to Oz or Wonderland or Neverland or what have you. That's why I tell you, brothers, he plays the role of proverbial Pan or Orpheus. And all top MK programmers or handlers, whether they're in the entertainment industry or in the psychiatric or psychological world, etc., they have to take their subject from the real world into a fantasy world that he helps to create and foster. That's the main reason why he has to basically sequester all of his harem away from everyone else. Now, there are logistical reasons and realistic reasons why, as a man, you don't want your woman dibbling and dabbling in too many different spaces, because the woman is two-dimensional with her outlook for the most part. Are all women like that? No, but for the most part they are. And they can be easily led astray and misled, so on and so forth. But R. Kelly, and the severity with which he tries to make sure that he isolates his harem from everyone else, tells you that there's something more nefarious afoot. R. Kelly is definitely an MK programmer. He's not high level. He's a low level MK programmer. But the tactics that he uses tells me that he's someone who's received some level of training.
Bitch, don't ever accuse me of some shit like that ever again. And who are you listening to? Get your ass back. I'm fucking you up. Things like that. And I was just...
In other words, he has to establish a penalty for you trying to break that bond or listening to anyone other than him.
Scared. He beat me in the car when I got back.
Oh, he whooped your ass in the car? Really? Do you have any photos?
That was the first time he was very physical with me.
Oh, so there was more than one time.
I felt trapped.
Did you feel trapped in the closet?
On the inside, I was like, who am I dealing with? Like, who is this person that I'm laying down with? Is he doing...
Who are you dealing with? You're dealing with the Pied Piper. That's why the man wears a mask. Those are two separate egos, two separate alter egos. There's R. Kelly and there's the Pied Piper.
Is he doing this secretly? You know? And I'm of age. Am I just a beard? I didn't know.
No disrespect to you, but that's the main reason why R. Kelly did not want you speaking to other people. Because now all of these thoughts are floating through your head when he had you where he wanted you. He had you trained. He had you in your place. Now you have all these distractions floating around in your brain. You wondering if you're a beard or not. And just to answer your question, yeah, you probably were.
I just knew that when we were in the car and he was lashing out at me and slapping me repeatedly, and I just kept telling him I was sorry and that I wasn't accusing him of anything and that I didn't believe it.
If you ain't believe it, then why you asking him for? That's what he's thinking. R. Kelly's something else, man.
At this point, there's no turning back, and I wanted to make it work by all means. There's a period that he calls it training you.
Yes, he's prepping you. He's an MK handler and programmer. He's training your ass.
He used those words with me plenty of times.
Believe me, if R. Kelly could, and who knows, maybe he does, he would probably utilize electroshock treatment and other methodologies to bring the woman firmer under his control.
I didn't understand that training me was like, okay, let me put this out here and see if she is comfortable with that.
Well, that's the only type of training that exists. You have to incrementally provide new challenges or goals for your subject, whether it's a human being or a dog. And that's how you get them to, to sequentially accept what they're becoming. Everything occurs in stages.
You definitely had to ask to go to the restroom.
Look, I've always said this about that situation. These females talking about how you have to ask to go to the restroom in his house. Could there be a more severe reason for it? Of course. But once again, he's R. Kelly. He's a celebrity. You can't have strange women or men wandering around your home unaccounted for, and you don't know what they're doing. They could be planting things. They could be trying to put you in a precarious situation. You never know what somebody's doing when they're walking around your house or roaming around your home.
Stand up when he walks in the room. You had to ask for your food.
R. Kelly got them trained. He got them trained like some golden retrievers.
Being on punishment could be either you're not getting food or you took a beating and he's not talking to you. The summer of 2012, he was putting together the Single Ladies Tour. I was just kind of at my wits' ends to leave, and he kind of reeled me back in by asking me to go be the cage girl. It made me feel special that, okay, this is us working on the relationship.
That's what your dumbass thought? He said, baby, come back and be my cage girl. All he was doing was fetishizing you. But your dumbass ain't figure it out because you was so caught up in the dream state of being with R. Kelly in the fantasy world, that Beauty and the Beast mentality of you're being swept up off your feet by this person who is kind of an anti-hero. Because of the woman's incessant need to try to escape one of her plagues, that being perpetual boredom, they're always trying to chase that so-called bad boy image or that person who they think they have to tame. They view it as being a form of conquering a man. If they can take a quote-unquote wild dude and tame him, not understanding that a man is not meant to be tamed. Your job as the woman is to act as a helpmeet. The man that is going to be productive and functional has to already be ready-made. And if he's an out-of-control dude and eventually he becomes more civilized, he's going to have to find that on his own.
Some of the promises that he made before, me even moving or making up my mind to move. We would run up to the stage together, and then one of the guys would hand me a fake contract, and then I would be looking at it like, oh my God, I'm about to sign this to let him do what he wants with me. And I just remember him saying, this is what I'm going to have you do when we get home.
You thought it was just part of the show. That was a real contract.
Make up a contract so I can protect myself.
That's what he's supposed to do. He's an asset. He has to understand what he is. You just a random chick. No disrespect, but in his view, you're expendable.
The tour ended middle of December of 2012. He introduced me sometime in February, and my life just got turned upside down after that. Sexually, it was always 1 or 2 girls. At the most, it was 3. I just had to block it all out, you know, because the sexual part of it is just so humiliating and degrading.
So wait a minute. He introduced you to the rest of his harem, and every time y'all had sex, there was at least 1 other girl with y'all in the bed, sometimes 2, and you had to block it all out. So what's that mean? When the other girl in the bed where y'all had her coochie in your face, you just close your eyes and act like you was eating a hamburger? Is that what you were doing? Knock it off.
And it makes you feel like if you say no, like what the consequences are going to be.
That's Pavlovian.
He was preparing for the Black Panties album mainly. And my last straw was being starved. I think I was going on day 3. I hadn't eaten the whole day. And I just remember glancing over at him and just making like a subtle movement, and he said, "Don't stare at me while I effing eat."
With your greedy ass over there sitting there with your empty plate looking at my food. Is it my fault you don't know how to obey instructions? Finish your water.
And I said, "I'm not staring at you." Like, I had no fear of him anymore. It was just
Of course, because you're about to drop dead from starvation.
Starting to build up, and I just started thinking of ways to like either end my life or end his.
Damn, that man had you like that? You was ready to kill yourself? Oh boy. Brothers, let me say this. We have to always make sure that any relationship or rapport that we establish with another person is based in health. If you're in a relationship and the person that you're in a relationship with, your girl or even your best friend or whoever, is constantly trying to entice you to do things that are going to be deleterious to you, or they're making you feel a certain way about yourself, that person has to go. They have to go. And there's really no negotiation around that sentiment. What many of these females are trying to do is blame R. Kelly for their insecurities. A bully can only bully someone who's willing to be bullied. Even someone who's smaller than someone else. They're being bullied because they believe that they cannot win if they engage them in an altercation. And maybe they won't. But what you'll find is that for the most part, bullies will leave you alone if they see that you're going to fight back. Bullies want someone who's not going to fight back. And in the case of these females, because they put a human being on a pedestal, they're not in the mode to even be able to understand what the hell is going on in their relationship.
The next day, even though all this had built up for me to leave,
your ass still ain't leave. Because you needed that R. Kelly dick in your life.
and I felt strong.
How the hell you felt strong? You haven't eaten in 3 days. Stop lying.
When it came to me getting to the airport, I didn't want to go. I was afraid of what I was going to have to face when I got home. What happened? Why are you back?
That's what it was really about. You spent too much time bragging about your relationship with R. Kelly. You're another modern day liberal female who was including too many people into your personal business. You're never supposed to be running your mouth about your personal life to the point where it paralyzes you from being able to accept the truth and move on. Because now you're living your life for images and for appearances. Now you got to go back to R. Kelly and get your ass whooped again. And he giving you 1 peanut a day to live on. Allegedly.
So when I got to the airport, it was so scary. I remember trying to call him in text, and I kept telling myself, if he picks the phone up, I'm going back.
To this day, R. Kelly could call your ass up and you go back to him. As a matter of fact, every female that's on this docuseries, if R. Kelly was to call them tomorrow, they would go back to him, including Lisa Van Allen, Sparkle, every last one of them.
Because I wasn't ready like I thought I was.
Yeah, I said never ready.
He never picked it up.
Of course he didn't pick up the phone. Your ass was blocked. As soon as you left and he had his guys follow you to the airport, You try to call him back. You're like, no, bitch. I believe you can fly. Oh, man. Okay, so now, brothers, we're going to see what Miss Asante McGee has to say. And once again, we're going to see the same dynamic as all the other females. It's someone who's living in their own world, their own fantasy, where R. Kelly is a savior figure. And obviously, he could not live up to the image that they had of him in their mind. Many of these people today, not just women, but people, period, they listen to music and they become entranced by it. They actually believe that the artist is what he or she tries to propagate to the listener through their music. And they're not that.
He go for the younger girls because they're weak-minded, but...
So why did he go for you for? Because not only are you older, but you're not attractive at all. Do I believe that R. Kelly has an inordinate attraction to females who are pubescent? Sure I do. But I think that he's just someone who likes pussy. So at the end of the day, you look kind of silly trying to give your theory for why R. Kelly goes after younger girls when he went after you. Unless what you're tacitly acknowledging is that you have the mental state of a 15-year-old, which most females have until they're about 45 years old. No disrespect. The main difference between a 40-year-old female and a female who's about 16, 17 is the amount of penises that they've had. That's basically about it. No disrespect. I know a lot of people are not going to like that, but I've already stated the woman is basically a child with breasts until she comes of age mentally at around her early 40s, 45 years old. That's when they start to mature and understand that the world is not just about them and their fantasies.
But if you're older and he feels like you're weak-minded, he's going to go for you too. It doesn't matter if you're 16 or if you're 40. If he can control you, that's all he wants. I was that die-hard fan.
You were a groupie, aka a maynad.
If you said anything bad about him, I would put you out my house. I would just stop all communication.
Because you were so caught up in his music, that's why.
When I first met R. Kelly, I was just shell-shocked. I was like really nervous, and like he was just real friendly, just, you know, talking openly, laughing, telling jokes, and I laughed. R. Kelly and I started dating. Officially for us, it was 2014. It was really like a high for me because again, it's R. Kelly.
And also because most of your life is lows. Brothers, most of these females are very, very depressed. Taraji P. Henson just came out and stated that she's suffering from depression. Why is that? Because the woman was put on the earth to be a helpmeet to the man. That's her job. That's why my channel's focused on the man. Because in order for us to get the woman right, we have to be right first. And the process of getting the so-called black man correct is a very long process. It's not just about how many push-ups you could do and then looking at a woman and saying, come stand by my side and support me. No, we have to get our shit together first and get right with the higher power and make sure that we understand our place in the hierarchy so that the woman can understand her place. Because this society is like a house of cards. It's going to collapse. And when it does collapse, the females who are meant to be redeemed are going to be given to men who are prepared to receive those women. But just because you're a male does not mean that you're going to have the ability to tell a woman what she needs to be doing. First, we have to be concerned about what we need to be doing. And then after that, we can move on from there. Well, that's why anyone who's trying to sincerely address the issues in the so-called black community have to start with the man. Damn near, you have to end with the man. Because the woman should be corrected by her man, not just some random dude. If the woman's being corrected by a random dude, what's going to happen? She's going to become infatuated with that random dude. That's why you see in these churches, most of the women are sleeping with the pastor, right?
So it's like I'm engaged in the conversation, texting with R. Kelly. In the beginning, he gave me some of the rules, but not all of the rules. He pretty much let me know that he had other girls. Either I accept it. If I couldn't accept it, then there's no need for us to even try anything.
That's good. That's one of the good things that R. Kelly was doing. And, you know, once again, brothers, the woman deep down knows that the man can have and oftentimes should have more than one woman. Now, in this society where the women are Babylonian, it's going to be difficult for you to find even just one good woman. So you have to be intelligent enough and wise enough to grasp that if you have one good woman and you know that bringing on another one is going to alter the dynamic of your relationship, you have to be able to weigh that in the balance and figure out if it's worth it. But all in all, is there anything wrong with a man having more than one woman? No, there is not. Not even a little bit.
At the time, knowing that I was not the only woman in his life, I was okay with it because I felt like he was honest.
And also because you felt like you were living out a dream. If you met Leroy from the corner store and he tried to have more than one woman, you get upset, you call him a dog, a no good man, you say men are trash and blah, blah, blah. All of the normal modern day super liberal woman nonsense. But because it was R. Kelly, you accepted it. Once again, brothers, the woman will accept a man having more than one woman depending on his position in life. The woman in general operates according to hierarchy or prestige. Where are you on the totem pole? That's going to determine what she accepts for the most part. For the most part.
I was married before. My husband, he was abusive as well as he was a cheater. And I respected the fact that R. Kelly was honest to let me know that it's not just you that I'm seeing. So it was just like a dream come true, and it was like I was willing to do anything to please him.
Of course. You're willing to do anything to please him because he's proverbial pan. And also, when a man like R. Kelly, who's a celebrity, tells you that he wants you, but he also has more than one woman, you accept that because you probably have dudes that you're messing with in your hometown anyway. And when it's time for you to go give R. Kelly some, you can hop on that plane, and the ticket is probably going to be paid for by him, and you can go live out your fantasy, then go back to wherever you're from and go back to your regular boyfriend. And he's none the wiser.
Started becoming intimate. I was living in my home in Atlanta and he was living in his home in Chicago. I would travel back and forth to Chicago or wherever city he was at as far as the tour. And then he was also coming to Atlanta a lot as well because he was using someone's studio and playing basketball. And so I was with him when he was in Atlanta. As a fly-in, it was normal life. Just me and him, two consensual adults having sex. Nothing out of the ordinary. 2 years within our relationship, I started seeing the changes.
So 2 years into your relationship, you started to see changes. It took you 2 years to figure out that R. Kelly was not the person that you wanted him to be or that you thought he was. Or maybe you were just finally starting to accept who he's always shown himself to be to you.
When he invited me to move into his house. The way he invited me, well, he didn't invite me, he told me.
The reason why I felt like he could tell you is because you had answered every other request that he made with the affirmative.
I went to his tour in Houston, Texas, and I'm thinking I'm about to fly home, and I was told by one of his assistants, you need to go get your clothes because you're going to end up in the next city without any clothes. I'm like, huh, what do you mean? So I got my suitcase and got on the bus. And we ended up in Atlanta at his house in Johns Creek. He said, welcome home, my babies.
Oh, shit.
And he opened the door, and I'm like, welcome home. So
R. Kelly opened the door dressed like Willy Wonka.
So he gave us a tour of his house, showed me my bedroom, showed us all our bedrooms. And he told, us to go ahead and go in your room, put your clothes up.
He said, go ahead up in your room, put your clothes up. I have some new dolls and toys under the bed for you to play with till I'm ready for you.
I didn't start having to ask R. Kelly for permission to eat and stuff until he actually moved me in the house.
Once again, that's because he did not want you roaming around his house and him not knowing what you're doing. And of course, that's also part of the programming suite that he was utilizing on the woman to turn them into a mind-controlled sex slave. But also, of course, he does not want people roaming around his house that he don't trust.
It was just like a nightmare.
So it went from a dream to a nightmare, huh? I bet that there are many men in your past who would say the same thing about you.
I remember times coming out of my room. In order to come down my steps, I had to beat for him to actually give me permission. And when I say beat, I literally had to do this for him to hear me.
No, you didn't. You didn't have to do any of that. You chose to do that because you were so infatuated with him that, you know, he basically played Simon.
It's been times where I've knocked for hours and he just did not respond.
Brothers, please understand that deprivation is one of the core training techniques in mind control. You always want to deprive the subject of things to the point where they become desperate enough to do what you want them to do. You want them to reach that breaking point, or at least get very close to reaching the breaking point, so that when you reward them with what they seek after, thereafter, they're willing to obey your commands almost immediately to get their reward.
A person don't love you if he's treating you like that. I just knew I had to get out.
You the dumbass who believed that R. Kelly loved you. Man, the man got like 400 women. He loves you like how somebody who trains dogs love their dogs.
So I packed my bags and left the house.
Bro said she packed her bags and left the house. Wait a minute, I thought you act like you're being kidnapped. All these women do the same shit. They claim that R. Kelly is stopping them from using the bathroom and eating, and then they get frustrated and just leave. There's never a tale of them leaving his house and him stopping them.
Before I actually met him personally, I guess because I was just so much of that fan, I just couldn't see him as being that monster. But now, actually being in that house and witnessing with my own eyes, I regret not listening and believing of the allegations that happened.
Once again, brothers, always be very wary of how quickly you proceed in a relationship with a female who has a crush on you, because they have an inflated image of you in their mind that they expect you to, fulfill in the flesh.
There's a difference between R. Kelly and Robert. R. Kelly is this fun, laughing, loving guy. But Robert is the devil.
Well, those are Saturnian principles, aka laugh now, cry later, or Janus programming. Most of these celebrities have the good side that they show the public, and then they also have the wicked side. That's also encapsulated by the paradigm or the dichotomy between the red and the blue. The blue is the cool side. The red is the angry side. But I'll be touching on that in later videos, especially pertaining to the Order of Saturn. But that's going to be basically it on Miss Asante McGee. Okay, so now we're going to address Miss Faith Rogers, the young female who claimed that R. Kelly purposefully gave her herpes.
A woman is suing singer-songwriter R. Kelly for allegedly failing to disclose a sexually transmitted disease. She also accuses him of sexual battery.
You mean sexual freakiness? How the hell you get with R. Kelly and expect to just have sex in a regular way? Let's knock it off. That man probably come in the room butt naked with one sock on, a spatula, pair of goggles on and shit.
This woman, Faith Rogers, says that she was in a relationship with R. Kelly when she was 19 for nearly a year before leaving.
My name is Faith, and I met R. Kelly in March of 2017. He kind of had like a goofiness to him when I initially met him.
Yeah, because he knows that's how you reel in a young girl like you. Just be goofy and show that he's willing to be a clown and an entertainer for you.
I knew he was older, but when he gave me his number, I wasn't thinking things would be where they are.
No, you were just not thinking. You were caught up in the fact that R. Kelly, a celebrity, was trying to hit on you.
Almost a year later. He really was persistent, and he would call me and we would just talk about regular things. I was flattered.
Like what, sex? Sex, and more sex. R. Kelly acted like he's going to speak about politics with her. You really just want to talk about sex.
Nothing ever came off as negative to me in our conversations in the beginning.
So the next time I saw R. Kelly was in May of 2017. I flew to New York for a show. So after the show, I went back to the room, ended up falling asleep. At 6 a.m., pounding at the door. Pounding, not knocking, he's pounding at the door.
He got to pound at the door. He needs you to let him in so that he can hit that, because he got to fly to the next city. He ain't got time to waste.
Our conversations have been so great, I expected the first encounter to go different.
So what you thought was, after an all-night concert that he led, he was going to come to the hotel room that he put you up in at 6 a.m. and sit down and talk, what, about some more politics? Give me a break.
It was consensual, but it was consented by intimidation.
That was a way of trying to imply that even though we really had sex, he coerced me. So it's kind of an extended type of rape. I wasn't wet between my legs when he walked into the room. So you could kind of sort of say that it was rape in a semi-rape kind of way. A lot of these bros are so crazy.
I felt just like something I had to do. Not that I wanted to do, but I had to do because it was R. Kelly. And who are you to tell R. Kelly no?
Well, the man put you up in a telly. I mean, shit. So at least you could do is give him some coochie. I mean, what the hell else you gonna offer him? I mean, let's just be for real. The man put you in a hotel room. You knew what the deal was. You knew that he was coming there to hit. You knew he wasn't coming to your room to ask you about your account and if he's able to get you a good tax return.
He's the type of person, he's very demanding.
That's why he's been so successful.
He's like a director and this is his movie. So he's like, do you like it? And I'm not responding. And he's like, tell daddy you like it. And I'm still not responding. And he's like, we need to work on your moaning skills.
Okay, like, bitch, we're not in church. Say something.
2 months went by. The BuzzFeed thing about the harem, that came out in July. I knew he was intimidating, but these allegations came out.
Yes, the allegations that she's referring to is the sex cult allegations, where R. Kelly supposedly was defecating on women and things of that nature, and I'm sure that he is. There are females in his harem who will let him do anything, and he tries to add to his harem, and he has so many women already there that if some females decide that they're not going to submit, he just lets them go. It's not a big deal, because he probably has already 40, 50 chicks who are willing to allow him to do anything that he wants. Defecate on him, piss on him, all that, vomit on him, because that's what he's into when you get to that level. And that's part of the Bacchanalian rites. That's why they use that term cult. R. Kelly is heavily inspired by Hugh Hefner, who's one of the top MK programmers of the 20th century. That's what Robert's trying to build on his own. He's trying to build his own Playboy Ranch. Allegedly.
And they sounded so extreme. How could he kidnap somebody? How could he abuse somebody and beat them? It was just twisted. So I was really sitting there confused. The only conversation we had about it was him saying it's not true. That these were lies. Closer to the end of the year, December, I had flown down for his concert in Dallas.
In other words, he flew you down and put you up in another hotel room.
We were in a hotel room. He kind of had gone on this emotional spiel, about life. And then he revealed to me about the girls. He described them to be a family. He made it seem like a family thing.
That's a term that cult leaders use. Family.
These are women that I raised. Some have been with me for 15 years. Some of them have been with me for 5 years.
Once again, brothers, there's nothing wrong with having more than one female, but it's very obvious that the dynamic that R. Kelly was able to create with his fans, with his fangirls, or with his adherents or his idolaters, is that they view him as a god. Once again, when you study the Maenads who worship the Bacchus, they were willing to kill for him.
He makes a phone call and he's like, get dressed, we're coming downstairs. So I'm like, who are we going to see? Go downstairs and he opens the door. And it's the girl I saw in the TMZ stuff. I'm like, oh. She's the girl that her parents said that she was kidnapped.
Of course, for those of you who don't know, Faith Rogers is speaking about Jocelyn Savage, the young female who's one of the more prominent members of R. Kelly's stable. She made the appearance on CBS Morning News with Gayle King. She's being interviewed by Gayle King. It was herself, as well as another one of R. Kelly's top wives, or top top ladies in his stable, Azriel Clary.
We were in a hotel room. R. Kelly, he opens the door, and it's the girl I saw in the TMZ stuff. I'm like, oh. She's the girl that her parents said that she was kidnapped. She literally, like, jumped up to him like a puppy and kisses him on the mouth.
MK Sex Kitten.
Seeing Joycelyn do exactly what he told her to do, she's not acting like a real person. She's acting like a robot. Everything he said was so funny, or, you know, she was right there just like in awe of him.
Kind of like you were, until you realize that R. Kelly has somebody else who, I mean, let's be for real, looks a little bit better than you. Once again, brothers, once the woman who's involved with R. Kelly sees that he has options, that's when it changes. None of the so-called dehumanizing sexual acts really affect them to the degree that they're trying to act like it does. It only starts to bother them once they see that there are other women in R. Kelly's life who are willing to do the same thing. That's when they realize that they're expendable, they're not as special as they thought they were, and now they become upset.
And it's like, but when he would leave, she would just be numb.
And let's make this very clear. I'm not doubting what Miss Faith Rogers is saying about Jocelyn Savage. Not even a little bit. It's very obvious to me that Jocelyn Savage is someone who's under mind control.
I wouldn't say she was kidnapped. Brainwashed, yes, absolutely.
I'd agree with you on that.
So after it was over and done with, I made the decision to reach out to the Savages. I went to tell them about how it went with me meeting their daughter Joycelyn.
So in other words, after you realized that you were just a piece that R. Kelly was bringing around the country or flying out to different locations to get some ass, and he was trying to indoctrinate you into his harem, that's when you said to yourself, I can't mess with this nigga anymore. And not only that, I'm going to ruin what he has with this female here, Jocelyn Savage, because I'm jealous that he's with her, that she's doing all the things that he told me he wanted me to do for him, and I think that she looks better than me. So that's the real reason why you call her parents up.
Of course they were upset, you know, but they were like, thank you for telling us. We haven't seen her. And the fact that they had to ask me, well, what does she look like? Was she skinnier? Things like that. You shouldn't have to ask about your own child. So that hit home for me, and I couldn't imagine what my parents would feel like if that were me.
I don't think that you cared about what your parents would have thought if R. Kelly made you his only woman.
So from there, they began to tell me more disturbing things about R. Kelly. And Tim Savage, he asked me if I had been checked for STDs since I've been with him. And I'm like, why?
Well, had you ever been checked for STDs before, Faith Rogers?
I'm like, why? And he's like, I know for a fact my daughter has an uncurable STD, and she got it from R. Kelly. After I reached out to the Savages, I went and got a blood test, and it came back positive for herpes.
That's interesting. I'm not saying that R. Kelly didn't give you herpes, but I have to wonder, according to you, you had sex with him in May, the first time that you saw him, and then you saw him again in December. I'm not quite sure if you saw him in the intervening months or in the intermediary months. So I have to ask the question, for someone who you're meeting for the first time, who you know has slept with many, many women, and who knows if he slept with men or anything else like that, why would you not stipulate that he wear protection? It makes very little sense to me, unless that's something that you're accustomed to. Or maybe you had him on such a pedestal that you believe that it was okay for him to run up in you without a condom on.
My initial reaction, I wasn't angry at him. I was angry at myself.
Well, that's a good job, Because you should have been angry at yourself.
And I had already came to a point where I decided, you know, I was done with him. And then...
Yeah, you decided that around the time that you saw Jocelyn Savage.
And then on the other hand, I was like, if it were somebody in my city and they gave me an STD, I would address it.
No, what you truly understood is that, wow, if I have an STD, this is a way for me to make major loot.
I would pretty much make sure they were held accountable. So,
in other words, a big payout. Hey, look, I'm not knocking it. Do what you got to do.
So why not hold him on the same
to the same standard
platform? I knew I had to spread the word. I wasn't gonna.
Of course, you guys can't see it, but it states here, R. Kelly sued for sexual assault. He locked me up, gave me herpes. Now, has there been anywhere in this interview that she stated that R. Kelly detained her, locked her up, sexually assaulted her, meaning that he forcibly had sex with her, and then gave her an STD? This is why so many of these accusations are not going to last. And once again, brothers, this is why I made this series. I did not make this series to try to absolve R. Kelly of any culpability or any guilt or what have you. I made this series so that brothers can understand how capricious the woman is and how she will make up whatever she needs to make up in her mind to make sure that she can cast down the person that she formerly had on a pedestal.
I'm gonna wait 10 or 20 years to come out and say he did that to me. I was gonna come out now.
Right, but you didn't come out now because you were courageous. The reason why previous women waited 10, 20 years is because now we're in the time of what they call the Me Too movement or the Time's Up movement. Now is a time where vindictive or malicious women can claim anything. Of course, it's also the time where women who were previously sexually assaulted or raped can speak about it and feel like they'll have support. But there are just as many women who are going to lie and trump up falsehoods as there are women who are going to give an accurate testimony. So the real question is, which one are you? Just the fact that I just saw a title that states that he sexually assaulted you and locked you up, and you stated that nowhere here in your interview, tells me that you're being disingenuous.
The young woman claims singer R. Kelly intentionally gave her an STD, and now Dallas police are investigating.
But anyway, brothers, that's basically it on that, and that's also basically it on the series. So peace.